Hello. Today I will be doing a reader's response to the book You Are Special by Mr. Fred Rogers. This is an incredibly special book. It is, a different type of book. It is, although very structured, has many chapters. It is a book that is extremely unique in how it is written. There's paragraph blocks, and each one is a quote about that he said or something that he's learned, an experience, an anecdote, a story, a you know, a lesson almost about whatever the chapter is about. If the chapter is about love, each one is a lesson about love. If it's or a story about love in his life, or an experience about love, or something he's learned about love. If the chapter's on difficulties in life, if the chapter's on loss, if the chapter's on parenting, learning, being a kid. There's so many things that he basically highlights and each block builds off the other. And so without one block, you can't, you certainly can have the other. It is a book that you can open and take advice from, but it's most powerful when you read it in order because each one kind of feeds off the other. And it's just incredible. And so because it is a nonfiction book with full of anecdotes and stories from his life and lessons about life itself, real life, it is it's a little bit more difficult to give a summary of it because it is not necessarily a story, rather a collection of important stories. But I have compiled a summary for it in kind of a unique way, similar to how the book is very unique. So, You Are Special by Mr. Fred Rogers is an incredibly impactful story for all readers, adults or children. Its intended audience, I would say, is mostly children, although it is a full novel. So, adults would most likely read it and pass it, or read it to children, or pass it down to children. And I guess its intended audience would be all ages, but the most of the lessons are he's trying to touch children with them. I found it most appropriate to start my summary by saying that this is really the epitome of Rogers' life work and all the lessons he wants to teach his young readers. It starts with a Dear Reader section, which is an introductory section where Mr. Rogers talks about his life and why he started his program for children on television, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, because he was so horrified with the awful, awful things that children were exposed to on TV, with the violence and the beating and the cowboy fighting and all of this. Chapter 1 is called You Are Special, and it builds upon many of the ideas in the letter that he wrote to the readers and expresses how each child is unique and special, and he likes them just the way they are. Chapter 2 is on relationships. He discusses how people we love the most can make us happiest, and they can also make us angriest. And he talks about the importance of forgiveness. Chapter 3 is on childhood, and here he discusses the importance of growing up and the good and the bad that comes with growing up, and how it's important for us to understand and empathize that each child grows up in a different way, and we need to accommodate to that. Creativity and play is chapter 4, and that talks about the importance of unlocking the creativity of the child, and how play was, as he grew up, was most important. The play that was most important to him as he grew up was playing imaginary, and he thinks that's more healthy than video games and things like that, especially if video games or things like that are the only form of play for the child. He thinks that's unhealthy. Chapter 5 is discipline, and that's talks about the importance of being a loving caregiver, understanding caregiver, and talking about how we should approach things with love rather than annoyance or anger. Chapter 6 is about learning, and he discusses how learning is love and love is learning, and how without love, we can't have learning, because we are developing a relationship with the world around us, and we are learning from someone else. So that love, um, that there has to be a love there, like a caring about, um, you know, helping the person learn from from the teacher. Chapter 7 is about difficult situations and how helping children cope with loss. And it becomes easier once we understand that children's loss is just as difficult for as it is for adults, and how they have feelings just as strong as ours. Chapter 8 is about communication, and he talks about how talking about feelings as a child could be the difference between bending or breaking later in life when strong winds hit. And that's a direct quote. Chapter 9 is about parenthood and how difficult a job, but also important a job it is, and how with love, unconditional love, anything is possible. Chapter 10 is about partnership between parents, child care providers, and teachers, and that's about the bond that is formed between children and those that care about them, because it's just unmatched in this world. And he talks about how as adults we need to strive to show children that they are loved and capable of loving. And finally, chapter 11 is about growing in adulthood, and explores the themes of maturing into adult life, as even after childhood, we are still learning some of life's most important lessons, and he talks about that, how he's still learning and how he's learned so much. And this is part of what makes teaching or parenting so difficult, is because we are still learning. But Mr. Rogers talks about what truly matters in life, and that is to exactly know that we and help others know that is exactly knowing ourselves and to helping others know that we are loved, capable of loving, and that we're special. The theme of this book, the purpose of this book is to teach every person and child about their uniqueness, their beautiful uniqueness, and are the one of a kind traits that make us who we are. One of the most important things he believes that could be taught in life. And it is also to pass down, all the lessons that he's learned and experiences through his life, and message of love to families. I think it's just incredible how he does that. And then I think, to analyze this book, it is certainly a quality piece of literature, because although it's not structured like a typical chapter book, and it's a little simpler in some ways, the way one could open to any single paragraph and be impacted by it allows for it to be a book that can be read straight through, or for in times of any need. And when a book's main purpose is to better the life of the reader, the words just flow so naturally. And with that said, makes it a quality piece of literature. It's just incredible, and I would highly recommend it. The APA citation will be available on the email, and thank you so much.